Stephen LeDrew sits down with former MP Michelle Ferreri for a frank, fast-paced discussion about truth, spin, and the state of Canada.
It's Ferreri, not Ferrari.
It is.
Ferreri.
So yes.
Michelle Ferreri and I are having a discussion about the issues of the day, and I want to put to you, I saw a Liberal ad this morning where Mr. Carney is standing up and he is saying, I need to give the Leader of the Opposition a lesson in economics, because he was saying yesterday that Canada is not doing well, according to the parliamentary officer, budget officer, and he said, I want to tell him that Canada is doing fabulously well. The economy is booming and everything is terrific. What do you say to that?
Sounds like a great chapter from 1984, Opposite World. Or as I think the Russian paper was called Pravda, which is
we were talking about the Toronto Star here.
Listen, this is what I saw over and over again. I remember the first time I saw it, and I've told you this before, I make no bones about it. But the first time I sat in the House of Commons was the first time I was like, I was never there. I never watched Question Period. I never wanted to be a politician. None of these things were what I wanted to or aspired to do. And I really assumed that honest, integral people were running our country until I sat in there. And I saw it over and over again. They would literally stand up. I would say to them, guys, like, we're having a real problem in Peterborough.
Right.
You know, drugs are really, really bad. Our downtown businesses are closing down. People are afraid. It's really bad. And I have people using food banks that have never used food banks before. Families are really, really struggling. And I would say it with sincerity and wait for a rebuttal, and they would stand up and go, well, that member certainly doesn't know what a great job we're doing, and nothing has ever been better, and we have the best credit rating, and they would say these lines. And I started...
Which are simply untrue.
They're just untrue. And I would say back, like, have you been outside? Like, go outside. And I think, you know, it's funny if you want to really break this down, Stephen, because in the movie of Donald Trump, whether he approved it or not, there's this debate on what is true. Right. And if you keep saying it enough and never stop saying it, that's your truth. And that's what Mark Carney and that's what the Liberals are doing.
But, okay, so then there's the opposition says one thing, and your leader stood up today and spouted off the stats. He said, these are not debatable. This is the fact. Right. And the press will not report it, though. The Liberal paid press, the Toronto Star, other papers, CBC, CTV, paid by the taxpayer at the direction of the Liberal government, will not report that the Prime Minister stood up today and said X, and that's simply not true. They didn't do it for 10 years under Trudeau, and Trudeau stood up in the House every day. And he would spout off some given lines that were given to him, and no one ever complained. The opposition complained, but no one in the press got through. And so the press is not telling people what's going on. So I talk to people every day and they say, we know something is not right. Grocery prices are going up, gas prices are going up. We hear some politicians saying everything is great, but we know that's not true. But where is that getting Canada?
Listen, you've just highlighted the number one issue that has created this mass chaos we see in this country. And, I remember when I was sitting in the House and I would say, what's that up there? And they said, well, that's the press gallery. And I'd say, well, where are they? And they were never there. They were never there. And there used to be this understanding that the press would come in. The press really held the government's feet to fire.
That was Michelle Ferreri, former MP, fabulous person. She knows public policy. That was 3 minutes. That was a freebie. But it gets better. And you'll only see that if you become a member. So support the station, because God knows the Toronto Star will not be reporting this.